So let's talk about this going from one S curve to another, because this is one of the more interesting to me. And it really connects to this whole thing I've observed in careers now. You used to have these career ladders, right? And you sort of went up the rung of the ladder. And now what we're talking about is tours of duty. And if you think about it, is the tour of duty concept really fits very nicely into the S curve, because people get stuck. And as you said, flight risk, right? People get stuck. I'm working, even as we speak, on a program for diverse and underrepresented talent. And one of my big points to the organizers of this program, which is a great thing, and they're putting a huge amount of effort into it, I said, but you can't just design the program. So you prepare these people, in effect, you're accelerating them up the sweet spot. And when they're done, like, what are you doing for them? Like, you have to have a place for them to go, or they'll go find their growth somewhere else, right?
That's right.
Anyway, but part of the dilemma, right? So you're in mastery, you're a little bored, you're looking for your next thing. But in between these two S curves, there's this J curve. And I wonder if you could talk about that a little bit.
Say more about that first before I comment, because I'm not as familiar with the J curve. So talk to me, and then I'll respond.
Well, if you think about a picture of an S curve, right?
Yep.
So you got the top one's kind of going up, but then as you start the next one, there's an investment you have to make. And I see this in business, right? So you have to make the investment and build the next. And we have this mental image, and I in strategy, I see this all the time. Boards, analysts, we expect companies to be able to just go whoop up the sweet spot of a growth curve, and then whoop up the sweet spot of another growth curve. And we sort of forget there's this bit in the middle where you have to be letting go of what had made you successful. So you're disengaging from the past, but you're also investing for the future. And very often what happens is your performance in that transition period is suppressed as a company. And I imagine there's something similar going on as people.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, so thank you for reminding me of the J curve. So it's the way I'm thinking about it is it's almost like this trapeze artist. And I remember there was some great research that that I think it was Accenture put out probably 15 years ago about this idea of the successful companies are the ones who invest before they need to invest. Basically, they jump to a new S curve before they do. So I think in answer to your question, part of it is doing a reframe for people and helping them understand, all right, you've got this talent and you've got a couple of choices. If they are at the top of their S curve and they are truly going to disengage, they're going to leave, or they're going to get complacent, and their leaving is going to cost you a lot of money. Their complacence and boredom can lead to a toxic culture, both of which have a cost. And so I think if we can put it in a dollars and cents form of like, what's the ROI of investing in this person, then it makes it easier to do it, because you can put it in financial terms of, okay, it'll cost you anywhere 50% to 2 times a person's salary to replace them. The cost of dealing with a toxic culture is also very huge, because when they're bored, they get in trouble. Like when you were in school, people who were bored got into trouble. So what happens if you invest in your people? And if you think about one of the greatest predictors of how long a person's going to stay is, do they perceive that there's growth upside? Then they're going to stay longer. And so the cost drops. And so the S curve in many respects is a retention tool. But there's a lot of reframing that has to go into this. Another way to look at it, and I think about this, is having been an equity analyst and looking at CapEx and PP&E. This is a capital expenditure. So that interim period is CapEx. It allows a person to over time get an ROI. So let me tell you a quick story that I think illustrates this. Is one of the stories in the book, Marco Tricocci. He's the CIO at Four Seasons. And when he first started, his boss did something very unusual, which was, Marco's, the CIO, I got to start, I got to hit the ground running. Let me go and roll out my plan. The CIO said, no, I don't want you to do that. I need you to take 6 months. I need you to listen to people. I need you to figure out where we are. Where are we on the S curve? What does the lay of the land look like? And then after 6 months, then you can tell me what your plan is. Now think about what he did in that moment. He gave him permission, which by the way is incredibly hard, because when you're at the launch point, you feel so insecure and so uncomfortable. And so I want to prove that I'm worthwhile. But when he rolled out that plan that turned out to be game changing moving from a legacy system to modernizing their technology, he had spent 6 months understanding everybody's point of view, what S curve they were on, how they saw the world, building relationships so that change management could take place. And so to answer your question, how do you manage that J curve? I think a lot of it is communication and reframing and helping people think about and understand the actual cost of their not doing it, and recognizing that the cost of making that investment and having that period that feels fallow actually will over time have a much higher return and not lose them a significant amount of money.